A huge part of filmmaking is creative decisions. There are numerous decisions to be taken in every shot, every frame of a film, right from location, shot angle, shot length, to color, framing, blocking, etc. Every choice has an extremely different effect on the viewer. By cinematic awareness, I mean to look at the why of a decision. Why was a particular choice taken when it was taken? I will be limiting myself to looking only at the aesthetic choices made in presenting a frame, as opposed to say the writing, direction and acting choices made in the film. In the aesthetics of cinema, there are quite a few techniques used to create a visually pleasing image. Symmetry, contrast, blocking, camera movement, etc. I will be looking at how these rules are used or abandoned in aesthetic decisions in film. The classification of levels are therefore based on the thought process behind the decisions taken. In the first case, aesthetic decisions are taken without any real reason or thought behind why they were taken. These are usually done by student filmmakers or amateur low-budget filmmakers who are either unaware of the craft of cinematography or have not hired a professional cinematographer. Examples include accidental bad composition, accidental bad lighting, and so on. In the second case, the aesthetic decisions taken are for the sake of beautifying a shot. This is what a lot of Instagrammers mean when they say that a picture is aesthetic. That is to say, regardless of the shot and story behind it, the prime focus is put on whether the shot looks good. The evergreen example here is Michael Bay's filmography, dissected in every frame of paintings video, What is Bayhem? Other examples include Zack Snyder's focus on beautiful shots in 300, even when the characters are in mortal danger, and Catwoman's incredibly strange camera work in this scene. Here, the cinematography aids in the purpose of the telling of the story. The rules of aesthetics aren't simply used for the sake of beauty, but each choice either forwards the plot, highlights the theme, or reveals character. The use of frame within frame in the Mood for Love highlights how trapped the characters feel. The color contrast in Wizard of Oz shows visually and quite arrestingly that the world Dorothy is stepping into is completely different from what she's used to.
Toto, I have a feeling we're not in Kansas anymore.
Compositional leading lines in Roma show the difference of class between the maid and the family. In the fourth case is breaking the rules instead of following them, again for the sake of conveying character, plot or theme. Breaking the set rules of the grammar of cinema produces a jarring effect in the viewer, who has internalized the rules of cinema. This jarring effect leads to a further emphasis on whatever the filmmaker wants to emphasize on, as the breaking of a rule is a lot more noticeable than the following of it. Think about this for a second. You, as a viewer, have seen countless films where the shot goes from a character looking at something to what they're looking at and back to the character looking at it. This repeated pattern in many films forms a sort of language in your head. If I then show you a piece of film where the shot goes, the character is looking at something, and then we cut to what they are looking at, but then we cut to something else, that would produce a jarring effect. A good example of the breaking of the rule of looking space is in the film The King's Speech, to show how boxed in the character feels. Mr. Robot's use of extreme framing breaks the rule of thirds to emphasize the protagonist's isolation. And Martin Scorsese's unmotivated camera movement in Taxi Driver emphasizes Travis's current predicament. The examples that come to mind almost immediately are Andrei Tarkovsky's commentary on the temporal quality of time, which he talks about in his book Sculpting in Time, Terrence Malick's stream of consciousness technique of filmmaking, Yasujiro Ozu's famous pillow shot, which goes against the standard practice of hiding the cut. In this case, instead, the cut stands out, making the viewer almost feel the cut, and therefore feel the form of film. Jean-Luc Godard's use of jump cuts, most famously in his film Breathless, to challenge conventional cinematic structure. He is out to destroy the accepted conventions of filmmaking and doesn't hold with the established rules. In Persona, Ingmar Bergman shows us the same scene twice from two different point of views, exploiting the temporal quality of cinema to give us something unique to the medium. By breaking cinematic grammar, Bergman makes the viewer aware of the process of filmmaking. Level 5 is using the rules and breaking the rules to comment on the nature of the medium of film itself, or to push the limits of the medium, exploring new frontiers and demolishing traditional cinematic grammar. The difference between the later levels and the first one is the conscious choice to break rules versus the accidental breaking of rules one does not know about. The former makes a statement. This is how, from accidental mistake to conscious rule breaking, we come a full circle in our exploration of cinematic awareness. Ultimately, the choices made in the film depend on the effect that the filmmaker wants to evoke in the audience. As David Fincher put it, films are made to make strangers feel the same thing at the same time. And if the choice made achieves its purpose, then the filmmaker has done their job.